It was a busy Saturday morning, and the supermarket was full of noise. The sound of carts rolling, children laughing, and people chatting filled the air. The loudspeaker announced discounts on fresh vegetables and bread. I grabbed a shopping cart and walked inside. I opened my bag to check my shopping list, but it wasn't there. I looked again, searching every pocket. Nothing. My list was gone. Oh no, I whispered to myself. How will I remember everything I need? I always make a list before going shopping. It helps me stay organized and avoid buying things I don't need. Without it, I felt lost. But I didn't want to waste time going back home. Maybe I can remember most of it, I thought. Milk, eggs, bread. What else? I took a deep breath and started walking. The fruit and vegetable section was colorful and bright. The smell of fresh oranges and apples made me smile. I picked up some bananas and tomatoes. Did I need potatoes too? I asked myself, unsure. I decided to take them just in case. As I moved to the next aisle, I noticed a mother trying to calm her two kids. They were pointing at a shelf of cookies, begging for a treat. A couple nearby was arguing about which brand of coffee to buy. I kept walking, grabbing a box of cereal and a bottle of juice. The more I tried to remember, the more unsure I felt. What if I forget something important? I wondered. The thought bothered me, but I decided to keep going. Maybe, just maybe, I would remember everything. I smiled, trying to stay positive. After all, shopping without a list could be an adventure. I moved to the dairy aisle, looking at the shelves full of milk, cheese, and yogurt. I reached for a carton of milk and paused. Did I need one or two? I couldn't remember, so I grabbed two just to be safe. The cheese section was full of options: cheddar, mozzarella, Gouda. I usually bought cheddar, but a sign caught my eye: try our new artisan cheese. A young man, probably in his early 20s, stood nearby. He wore a supermarket uniform and smiled as he saw me looking at the sign. Would you like to try this one? He asked, holding a small sample tray. I hesitated, then took a piece. It's very good, I said after tasting it. It's perfect for sandwiches, he added. You should try it with fresh bread. I nodded and placed a block of the cheese in my cart. Thank you for the suggestion. Moving on, I passed by the bread section, where the smell of freshly baked rolls filled the air. I picked up a loaf of whole wheat bread and paused for a moment, thinking. Butter. Did I need butter? I stood there for a few seconds, trying to picture my fridge at home. I'll get some, just in case, I said to myself and headed back to grab a small pack. In the frozen section, I saw bags of vegetables, ice cream, and ready-to-eat meals. I didn't plan to buy ice cream, but seeing a new flavor made me stop. Chocolate with caramel swirls and cookie pieces. I smiled. Why not? I thought, adding it to my cart. As I walked through the aisles, I noticed more people around me. A father carried his toddler while choosing snacks. An older woman asked an employee about a product on the top shelf. Everywhere I looked, there were small stories, small moments. My cart was getting fuller, but I still had the nagging feeling that I was forgetting something important. I tried to push the thought away and focused on the things I had already picked. This is fine, I told myself, though I wasn't entirely convinced. I sighed, adjusting my grip on the cart, and continued. This shopping trip was turning into more of an adventure than I had expected. As I turned into the next aisle, I spotted a familiar face. It was Mrs. Maria, my neighbor from 2 doors down. She was standing near the vegetables, examining a bag of carrots. "Clara," she said with a warm smile. "Shopping today too?" "Yes," I replied, pushing my cart closer. "But I lost my shopping list. I'm trying to remember everything." Mrs. Maria laughed softly. "That happens to me all the time." "What are you looking for?" "I'm not sure," I admitted. "I've got some basics: bread, milk, fruits. But I feel like I'm forgetting something." She looked at my cart and nodded. "You've got good choices so far. Don't forget onions and garlic. They're useful for almost everything." "That's true," I said, grabbing a small bag of onions and a few garlic bulbs. "Thanks for the reminder." We chatted for a moment about recipes, and she shared a quick idea for a vegetable soup. I thanked her, and we said goodbye as I moved to the snack aisle. Walking past the shelves of chips and cookies, I debated whether I needed more snacks. I had already picked up a box of biscuits earlier, but something salty might be nice. I grabbed a small bag of pretzels and added it to the cart. At the end of the aisle, there was a shelf with cleaning supplies. I stopped to think, did I need dish soap? I tried to picture my kitchen sink but couldn't remember how much was left in the bottle. Better to be safe, I thought, placing a bottle of soap in my cart. As I continued, I noticed a man struggling to reach a box of cereal on a high shelf. Without thinking, I walked over. "Do you need help?" I asked. "Thank you," he said with a smile as I handed him the box. "You're welcome," I replied, feeling a little more cheerful. The store felt less overwhelming now. Talking to Mrs. Maria and helping someone had lifted my mood. My cart was getting heavier, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that I had forgotten something. I shrugged and kept going, hoping it would come to me soon. I finally made my way to the checkout line. The store was even busier now, and the sound of beeping scanners filled the air. I looked at my cart, trying to remember if I had everything I needed. The line moved slowly, so I began unloading my items onto the conveyor belt. Bread, milk, fruits, vegetables, snacks, cheese, it all seemed fine. But that nagging feeling stayed with me. The person behind me in line was an older man with a kind face. He smiled and said, "That's a nice selection. Cooking something special?" "Not really," I said with a small laugh. "I lost my shopping list, so I'm just hoping I didn't forget anything important." He looked at the tomatoes I had placed on the belt. "Do you have pasta at home? Those tomatoes would make a great sauce." I froze for a moment. Pasta. That was it. That's what I had forgotten. I thanked him quickly and glanced toward the pasta aisle, which felt miles away now. "No problem," I said to myself. "I'll make something else with the tomatoes." The cashier started scanning my items, and I tried to focus. "Did you find everything you needed today?" she asked with a friendly tone. "Almost," I said, smiling back. "It's been an interesting trip." As I reached for my wallet in my bag, my fingers brushed against a small piece of paper. Curious, I pulled it out and unfolded it. There it was, my shopping list. I stared at it for a moment and then started laughing quietly. The cashier looked at me, puzzled, but I shook my head and said, "I found my list. A little late, but I found it." The funny part? Almost everything on the list was already in my cart. Only 2 items were missing: pasta and butter. I had remembered most of it on my own after all. As I paid for my groceries and loaded the bags into my cart, I couldn't help but smile. Maybe losing the list wasn't so bad. It had turned a simple shopping trip into a small adventure. When I got home, I carefully unloaded my bags and started organizing everything on the kitchen counter. As I placed the vegetables in the fridge, I realized that, even without my shopping list, I had bought everything I needed for the week. I laughed to myself. Sometimes, we overthink things. I looked at the 2 items I had forgotten: pasta and butter. They were easy enough to pick up later, but I felt good knowing that I hadn't completely missed anything important. As I put everything away, I thought about how much I had learned today. I had not only bought food, but I had also practiced my English. Every time I picked up an item and read its label, I remembered new words. Tomatoes, cheese, cereal, and onions were now part of my growing vocabulary. Even when I asked the store worker about the cheese, I used some English expressions I had learned before. I encourage you to try this the next time you go shopping. Make a list in English, if you can, and try to remember the words for everything you need. Repeat them out loud as you walk around the store. You can even practice with a friend or family member, asking them, "Do you have the eggs?" or "Where is the bread?" It's a great way to use English in real life and make learning feel natural. Plus, you get to practice while doing something you already enjoy, shopping. I'm excited to continue learning and using English in more places. Who knows what other everyday situations I can turn into a fun learning experience. And next time, I'll definitely make sure my list stays with me. Before I end, I want to leave you with this: don't worry if you forget things or make mistakes. It's all part of learning. Every small step counts. Keep practicing, and soon, you'll find that English becomes a natural part of your everyday life too. Now, think about your next shopping trip. What can you learn? What new words will you try to remember? Let me know in the comments, and I'll be back soon with more fun stories.